Добрий вечір, всіх вітаю. Напишіть, будь ласка, як мене добре чути, видно. Так. Угу. Вітання. Так, дуже дякуємо, що долучаєтесь на наш останній вже вебінар цієї серії, як підготуватися до іспиту Pearson English International Certificate. Дніпро, вітаю вас. Одеса, Харків, Херсон. Дуже вдячна, що ви доєднуєтесь до наших вебінарів, завжди активні. Тож, мене звати Степанченко Ольга, я міжнародний. Я менеджер з міжнародних іспитів Pearson. Сьогодні я та мій колега попрацюємо з вами годинку стосовно того, як же підготуватися до міжнародного іспиту Pearson English International Certificate. Так, Черкаси бачила, там Черкаси, вітання вам. Так. Тож сьогодні все про PEIC. Якщо ви були на наших минулих вебінарах, ви, мабуть, вже чули, або вже раніше готували до наших іспитів. Раніше назва цього іспиту була PTE General, а зараз це Pearson English International Certificate, тому використовуємо цю назву. PTE вже трошки застаріла. Так, хочу поділитися з вами 5 основними причинами, чому кандидати вибирають саме іспит Pearson. По-перше, цей іспит, він визнаний в більше ніж 50 країнах світу, включаючи Україну. Тест перевіряє здатність кандидата використовувати англійську на практиці, тобто у життєвих ситуаціях. Частина говоріння проходить сам на сам з екзаменатором. Тут ви можете продемонструвати якнайкраще свої навички та вміння, і ніхто третій на це не впливає. Іспит перевіряється виключно у Великій Британії, як письмова частина, так і усна частина. Сертифікат не має терміну придатності. Ось так виглядає сам сертифікат. Валідність його регулюється серйозними компаніями у світі, такими як Ofwall та Edexcel. Оригінальність цього сертифікату підтверджує ось ця голограма на сертифікаті. І, звичайно, що кожен сертифікат має свій індивідуальний номер. І для того, щоб отримати цей сертифікат для рівнів від A1 до C1, потрібно набрати щонайменше 50% правильних відповідей, тоді ви складете цей іспит Pass at Level. Називається. Якщо 60%, 60-69%, тоді це Pass with Merit, і 70% і більше – це Pass with Distinction. А для рівня C2, щоб отримати сертифікат, потрібно набрати щонайменше 60% правильних відповідей. Але варто зазначити, що якщо для рівнів від A2 до C1 ви не набираєте 50%, а, наприклад, не вистачає вам 1 балу, 49 набираєте для рівня B2, ви отримаєте сертифікат на рівень нижче, тобто на сертифікат на рівень B1. А для іспиту на рівень C2, якщо не набираєте 60% правильних відповідей, а 50-59, то отримуєте сертифікат на рівень C1. Як завжди, демонструю свої контактні дані, Viber, Telegram за номером телефону, також моя електронна адреса. Я завжди на зв'язку з понеділка по п'ятницю, з 9 до 18, тож завжди радо відповім на всі ваші запитання. Передаю слово своєму колезі Геннадію, будь ласка.
Геннадій вже тут. Вітаю тебе, Олю. Слава Україні, шановні учасники, колеги. Ми з Олею і уся компанія Internal Education тішиться з того, що у нас так багато колег, які цікавляться міжнародними мовними іспитами. Хочеться вірити, що дійсно багато з вас приходить не лише для того, щоб, скажімо так, вдосконалити свої знання і розуміння в тому, що це за іспит і що таке міжнародна мовна кваліфікація від Pearson в принципі, а як мінімум з початковими думками, або вже ви встигли ці думки собі так ствердити і упорядкувати в голові стосовно дійсно підготовки кандидатів до міжнародних мовних іспитів. Адже серед всіх тих причин, які Оля вже сьогодні згадала, про те, чому кандидатам може бути цікаво складати іспит, я б зазначив ще одну: це просто так мати підтвердження на міжнародному рівні своїх досягнень, своєї роботи, результату вашої роботи над своїми учнями, так, який буде, мені здається, тішити око і, в принципі, бути хорошим показником всієї тієї праці, так, яка була пророблена і вами, і вашими кандидатами, вашими учнями в тому числі. І мені здається, якщо ми говоримо про шкільний сектор, в тому числі, я розумію, що міжнародні мовні іспити можуть складати всі, і ті учні, які навчаються в школі, коледжі, університети, дорослі слухачі. Моя підготовка моїх учнів і кандидатів починалася саме з школи. Там були мої перші успіхи моїх учнів, і крім мене і них, батьки також дуже тим тішились, та й шкільна адміністрація була не проти мати у себе в школі випускників, так, або просто учнів, які мають міжнародну мовну кваліфікацію, так, міжнародні мовні сертифікати. Мені здається, це завжди прекрасно. Сьогодні, так, бачу вітання абсолютно з різних куточків нашої прекрасної країни, і я надзвичайно радий вас тут бачити. Ось у нас, не дивлячись на те, що у нас останній, точніше, крайній в цій серії вебінар. Цим вебінаром ми закінчуємо серію грудневу вебінарів про наш іспит. Ось у нас більше 130 учасників, і це прекрасно. І ви знаєте, дійсно було надзвичайно приємно те, що кожен вебінар, який ми проводили, чи то ранковий, чи то ось в такий після обідній час, завжди був інтерес і багато учасників. Це чудово. Тому ми вам надзвичайно дякуємо. І моя єдина інтеракція сьогодні, ті з вас, хто вже приходять не вперше, знають, що я там також полюбляю якусь перепитати у вас стосовно вашого досвіду, так, підготовки до іспиту і так далі. Єдина моя інтеракція сьогодні буде: я попрошу поставити цифру 4 тих з вас, хто долучився на всі 4 різні вебінари цієї серії. Так, або ось сьогодні ваш 4-й. Так, тобто ви фактично до цього часу вже були на частині слухання, так, або аудіювання, говоріння, письмо і ось читання, можливо, так, ну, мало би бути на саме останньою 4-ю, і ви можете похизуватись тим, що ви вже такі, ну, експерти, вже знаєтесь, чи майже на всіх, ось сьогодні дізнаєтесь ще більше про частину читання і будете мати повноцінне уявлення про тест від Pearson, які частини, що перевіряється і так далі. Ну, ось деталі різні. Ну, є у нас таких чимало. Чимало. Ось я так проскролив кілька раз мишею своєю. Супер. Дуже дякую вам. Дякую всі ті, хто долучається сьогодні, можливо, навіть не в 4-те, а в 3-те, в 2-те або в 1-те. Я однаково радий бачити усіх вас, але просто було цікаво, скільки серед вас тих, хто ось повноцінно так всю серію вебінарів відвідав і ось сформували таке вже дійсно загальне уявлення, таке ширше про наші іспити. All right, so let's get down to something that, again, some of you haven't probably learned about the test yet, which is the reading part. Okay, so today the reading part is in focus. Before that, I should remind you that there are six different exams with PEIC, and they are aligned, all of them are aligned to the Common European Framework of Reference, and they give a chance for candidates to test their language skills from levels A1 all the way up to level C2. So every SEFRA level has got an exam with has got a certain exam with PEIC. In this series of webinars, we are looking at samples from level 3, which is level B2 or upper intermediate, according to SEFRA, that being one of the most popular levels taken by the candidates here in Ukraine. This is the structure of the test. It's got 2 papers. The first paper is called written paper, and it tests students' abilities to listen, read, and write. And at this level, at level 3, it lasts for 2 hours. And the speaking part at level B2 lasts for 6 minutes. I really encourage you to put any questions you have in the chat. It's better if you use the Q&A box, okay, Q&A chat. This is where you're going to keep your questions, and they are going to be very ready available to us at the end of the session. So whatever questions you have, please make sure you ask them, because, well, you've got me as an interlocutor, you've got Olga, who is an expert, my colleague Olga, who is an expert in just setting up the test and organizing the session, so on and so forth. So today is the day to get all your doubts and to get all your questions answered. So please keep track of those if need be. And as I have already mentioned, reading is in focus today. All right, so that's the parts we're going to concentrate on. In reading, there are 4 sections, and basically reading comes straight after the listening part of the test. So those of you who attended the listening webinar, or the webinar about listening, about PEIC listening, you remember, yes, that listening comes first in the written paper. So this is what students sit. This is the skill that students get tested at the very beginning of the test. So sections 1, 2, and 3 are listening sections, and sections 4, 5, 6, and 7 are reading. So they test students' reading skills. And there are 4 sections, and there are 4 different tasks to reading. 2 multiple choice tasks. You see this multiple choice multiplied by 2, so 2 multiple choice tasks, and we'll have a look at how different they are. What's the difference between these 2 multiple choice question tasks? There is one task that is called open comprehension questions, which is basically answer the questions task. And the 4th one is a gap fill. So gap fill, or like note completion, text completion. So there are just a few various ways how you put it, yes, how you name this task. So let us have a look at them one by one. We'll see what they are like. I'll mention some tips and some things I suggest you remember when you get your candidates ready for the test. And just we'll be just having a look at what these things are. Okay. So section 4 is multiple choice short texts. And as the name suggests, this is how this reading multiple choice short texts look like. So short text, like it could be just a couple of sentences, 2, 3 sentences long. All right. And students need to read, and there is a gap in every text, and there are 3 options for candidates to choose from well, choosing the best possible alternative, the best possible word or phrase that fits the gap. This one is heavily about the meaning. Yes, one of the most important things about this task is for students to understand the meanings, for candidates, yes, to understand the meaning of the text and try to figure out, obviously, the meaning of the missing information, the meaning of the missing word or phrase that they need to complete it with. For instance, this one says, yes, we apologize for any disruption to normal museum services while we are in the process of renovating the old entrance hall. So among these three, replacing would probably be the worst option. Yes, because it's kind of difficult to replace the entrance hall, so that doesn't match the meaning. Yes, completely. And refreshing could be something that we might think, refreshing is also kind of a possibility, which is to some extent. However, refreshing is something very, very light. Yes, something that wouldn't probably cause much disruption and disturbance to the museum visitors. So that's why renovating is something that really fits the gap according to its meaning here. Let us try out one of the things with you here, okay? I will show you another short text with 3 options. Read it, decide what you think the correct option is, and put it in the chat. So let us see, let's just, get the feeling of just one of those texts that students have, okay? Here is a text. Please read it to yourself and decide on ABC and put it in the chat when you think you know the answer, okay? So just 30 seconds for you to work on it. All right, I can see the answers coming in. No worries. I just changed the settings so that only I see all the answers that are coming in. So no worries that you can see the answers of everyone else. So it's just me here. So I think that okay. All right. Okay, I think like 80%, I would say that about 80% of you go for one of the options, like the majority of you are choosing one of the options there. But still there are about 20-25% of all of you who think that, well, other options could be possible as well. So it's like we've got the option that is voted for by the majority of you. Okay. Thank you very much again for just, trying out and seeing how it works, whether it works or not. Okay, let me just, I'll change back the settings. Good. And let us check. Let us see. All right. So the correct option here is gap year. Right, so journey doesn't look like, yes, the correct alternative. Well, probably because again, yes, it just means yes, the basically the route, yes, from point A to point B, right? So that is why maybe it's again it's not the option. And charity can be used, yes, in its singular form. However, probably this is not the place, yes, and you may be on a charity career break. So that's something about time, yes, that you spend doing something, right? Like gap year, career break, or what else they have here? Volunteer, basically, on a working holiday. So gap year would be the correct option. So this is where, again, as I have already mentioned, this is the type of activity, and they, well, they have how many? Remember, we have 5 texts like that, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have the summary and we'll see. So they have 5 texts like that, and the meaning is very important here, right? So we need to identify which word best fits the meaning of the sentence, right, and of the text in general. This is where grammar also comes in handy, because sometimes it's about this article, right? So sometimes you have the article and you understand, okay, most probably a noun is missing, and that could be helpful for students to work out the correct option, right? So this is something close to what we have in Zeno or NMT. Yes, part of the sentence missing, but it's not part of the sentence. It's just a word or a phrase, so it's like something like that. But grammar as well plays or could play an important part here. So that means that students or candidates, yes, they are advised to have a look, to have a closer look before the gap and after the gap, and look for some things that the missing word is linked to, yes, some grammar clues that could be important as well. So a few tips here, yes, looking carefully for clues before and after the gap that could be valuable for candidates. Focusing on the meaning, yes, because sometimes that is decisive, and very often, actually, that is decisive, and students need to understand that the meaning fits. Yes, checking if grammar is okay, right, and thinking why other 2 options are wrong is also a good skill to be trained, and a good strategy to be trained when getting ready for the test. Yes, because it might be not only important to find the correct option, but just to figure out and justify in a matter of a few moments, yes, why other 2 options are not good. So that could be helpful for candidates to be more confident in the option that they have chosen, right? So some tips from me here, and just summarizing it, just let's have some technical, let's have a technical summary, yes, about this part of the test. So number of questions, 5. So 5 short texts with gaps and 3 options to choose from. The score point is 5 accordingly. So you either, yes, put across correctly or incorrectly. Basically, yes, so correct or incorrect type of scoring. Focusing on the meaning is the key here. So this is what they need to identify, why other words don't fit with their meaning. And yeah, well, basically, this would be the kind of short like data summary to this part of the test. So section 4, the first part in reading is multiple choice short texts. Now, let's move on to section 5, which is again multiple choice. However, this time it's a long text. And just my question here, when you see this, when I show you it, when I show you this section, when I show you this task in just a matter of a few seconds, put in the chat which other exam does it remind you of, or what other exam do we have, or do students experience a task like this? Is there any other exam that many Ukrainian students take, and it has a similar task to it? Oh, no, okay, good. All right, very good. Yes, excellent. So a lot of you put Zeno or NMT as well at the moment, thanks to our wonderful neighbor Russia. Yes, we don't have Zeno. So yeah, we have NMT, but someone is putting IELTS as well. Very good. So yes, well, basically you would agree with me that this type of the task is very common, yes, to basically any exam our candidates take, and any course book that we are teaching with. So I think this is one of the most common tasks. Yes, so multiple choice reading task is like almost everywhere. Yes, whatever book, I mean, according to the level, it's like at least pre-intermediate and above. Any book we take and any test, FC, as some of you are putting Cambridge examinations, FC and Zeno and NMT and IELTS, right? So all of these have this type of task. This is why I'm not going to get into, you know, much detail and much strategy of how to do this task, because I think your students and your students practice it on daily basis, and you've got your strategies, how you suggest your students approach the task in the best possible way. Just a few general tips, what I would usually draw my students attention to, and what I would usually suggest them to do. So identifying the keywords in the questions. So that's probably the first thing. Yes, I tell them to have a look at. So I tell them at first to ignore the options, because among options A, B, C, 2 options are distractors. Yes, 2 options are there to take their attention away from the correct one. That is why I suggest, guys, have a look at the questions first. Yes, and identify the keywords in the questions, right? The options yet. Then, even without looking at the ABC options, I tell them, go and read the text, yes, for the first time, and maybe try to answer some of the questions yourself, or at least identify the area in the text, identify like the extract, the passage, the sentence in the text that has the correct answer, or you think it has the correct answer, right? So again, not yet the options. So working with the questions, identifying the keywords, working with the text, trying to figure out at least a few answers themselves, looking where exactly in the text the answer could be. And obviously, practicing synonyms and paraphrase is something quite important to be able to do this task nicely, right? And this is what should happen in class, and this is what students need to be trained to do in the test, is because the correct alternative is very often paraphrased, yes, in the text, and this is what they need to understand, that it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you have it in the text in very similar way to how you have it in the alternative, in the option. It happens. However, in most cases, it's paraphrased in synonyms. And again, something that is important for test takers especially is, no matter how long the text is, the students should be trained to do it in class. The teachers, we need to understand how much it takes our students to do the task, how much it takes them to read the whole text, how much it takes them to answer all the questions and to, sorry, and you know, to work properly with the text and to go find those correct answers and to avoid distractors and look for synonyms and paraphrase. That's a lot of work, okay? And they need to be trained to do it in class. So sometimes what happens at school, you know, with regular classes is that sometimes we have these longer texts, and to save some time in the lesson, yes, teachers ask students to read those at home, which, sorry, I beg your pardon, which with exam preparation should be different. So it should be practiced in class. Right. So these are just my suggestions. These are just some of the tips that could be taken into consideration when doing multiple choice longer texts by candidates. So the number of questions here, 5. Students have 5 questions about the text, and the score point is 5 again, so they get it either correct or incorrect. Yes, so they choose the correct or incorrect option. So the type of scoring is correct or incorrect. And the tip is to concentrate on the questions first, analyze the questions, underline the keywords, and go and try to find the answers themselves in the text. So that could be one of the strategies. It's not the only possible strategy for students to do the task as best they can. No, but that's one of the things that could be useful to many candidates. Right, so this is multiple choice, longer text. Let's move on with another section of the test of the test, and that will be section 6, which is open questions or open comprehension questions, or answer the questions. This one is interesting because, well, multiple choice questions, the previous 2 sections, it's not that I think I surprised well any of you too much with the sections. Answering questions, that could be something that we don't do that often in class, which means that we need to understand how it works in PEIC, yes, and what we could advise our students to do when they sit section 6, okay, in the test. In this section, there are 2 texts. So they are longer than in section 5, but shorter than they're longer than in section 4, right? But shorter than in section. So it's like they are like shortish texts. Let's say they're not too long, but they're not a few sentences. So it's like 5 to 6 to 7 sentences. So 2 texts. Each of the texts has 4 questions to be answered by the candidates. Okay, 2 texts and 4 questions each. And each text has a sample question, like an example question, to show how it works. Let us try it out with you and see how this one works, okay? And what advice I could give to you when you get your candidates ready for this one. Let us have a look at this text, okay? So Lily's experience at CLUS University. And we've got an example question here, which asks, where did Lily spend the first part of her studies? And the answer here, this is very important. This is the most important bit about this section, is that candidates are asked to give short, brief, clear answers. Well, and accurate, obviously, okay? So there is no need here at all to write a fully grammatically correct sentence, something like, Lily spent the first part of her studies at Syracuse University. Absolutely no need to do that. This is the most important thing that the students need to remember, right? So they just find it in the text. Yes, after my freshman year. Oh, after my freshman at Syracuse University. I will show you now another question from this text, okay? And again, let's try this one out. I give you 30 seconds, 40 seconds. You read the text, you answer, you find an answer, and put it in the chat, please. All righty, let's do it. So that is the question. 40 seconds, read, find, and put it in the chat. So again, I've changed the settings of the chat, so no worries that you don't see the answers of all the participants. That's no problem. So I just readjusted it so that only I can see your answers now. No worries, but I believe that, well, I very often do that with my students when teaching online, because it eases the tension of some students making mistakes and other students seeing those mistakes. That is why I've changed it. So now only I see who's made a mistake. Okay. But yeah, I think with this one, I can't see a single one of you making a mistake. I think like very, very unanimous decision. So it's just, yeah, all of you are putting it correctly. So again, it's not that I'm expecting a mistake from you. Don't get me wrong. It's not like me testing you or anything. But it's just a good idea for you to, you know, try and put yourself in your student's shoes and just read it and find it and see how you put the answer and just stuff like that. So again, no offense. Right. So the answer here is here, advance my language skills. And again, well, even this, well, the word advance that I underlined is completely unnecessary because the answer should look like this: language skills, maximum probably her language skills. And again, her is just optional, right? So why did her language skills, but her is optional. So if like many of you have put it language skills, and that is completely fine. So well, I had this question in the first time I was doing this webinar from one of I think the participants named Alisa, and she was I think that was her, and she was like one of the most active participants because she was preparing 28 candidates for PEIC. That's why she had lots of questions and lots of things to ask me, and she asked the question like, if students make spelling mistakes here, right? How vital would they be? Yes, if they're going to get the score down or anything. And my question here is, yes, again, if candidates keep it short, that's one thing. And if candidates copy it attentively from the text, there is very little chance that they're going to make some spelling mistakes, okay? Spelling mistakes here don't matter unless the word is correct. So the word might be inaccurate, but correct, okay? For example, letter, let's see, for example, just a sec, where I have it. Okay, for example, letter A is missing from language. All right, so let's imagine, right? So letter A is missing. So the candidate has copied it without letter A. So that wouldn't be you know, a gross mistake. So the candidate would still get a positive point for this answer because the word is correct. So they found and identified the answer and they put it here. But again, this is where the answers should be brief, they should be short, and they should be copied well from the text. There is zero of something that students need to make up. Nothing to be made up here. Is just finding and copying it from the text. So it's just, I just thought that it might be useful for some of you to know that, because it requires some writing. Yes, it requires that the students write in it, but it should be done, I mean, just carefully for students, again, not to be confused themselves as well. So, right. So a few tips here is analyzing the questions first. Here's the question words. Actually, this is something, right? This is something I should mention very often here. Yes, what is important in these type of tasks is, well, here it's when the candidates need to look for some specific information in the text. Yes, and it would be, the questions would be something like what, or why, or when, or how. So the question words here are of extreme importance. And if students identify them correctly, they have a look at them correctly and say, why, the reason, what, maybe the name of something, and how, yes, the way something is done. So those question words could be very, very helpful. So students need to have a look at the beginning of the question and understand like the meaning, what they are asked to look for in the text. Another thing, answer the questions briefly and accurately. I've mentioned that as well. And obviously, the thing that should be done at the preparation stage in class is training special questions. Yes, students need to be trained to not only to ask, but to answer those. So basically, we'll both ask and answer special questions. Right, so a brief summary of section 6, 2 texts, 4 questions each, which leads us to the maximum score points the students can get here is 8. It's correct or incorrect, okay? And the most important thing here, it's keep it short and accurate. So just copying the word or the phrase from the text. Nothing to make up, nothing to imagine, nothing to take from the top of your head. So it's just the text. All righty, good. I hope everyone is ready for the final section, for section 7 of the reading test. Section 7 comes, and this is gap fill, or yeah, again, like note completion or text completion. This is how it looks like. Quite a longish text. Yeah, so maybe it's not as long as in section 5 multiple choice questions, but it's quite longish. And students have here 7 sentences. You can see it as the task on the right. So the task is 7 sentences that the students need to complete with a few words from the text. All right. Right, and again, this is well, they are asked to what? They are asked to write as many as 3 words. Yes, like a maximum of 3 words. So 1 to 3 words is completely enough for the sentence to be correct. And again, some things. Well, just speaking of different tips and different strategies, yes, this task, I think, well, has I suggest a few of the things that we've already discussed today. So what could be useful here in this task is students go and read the 7 sentences and see what the keywords are. Yes, and again, some things that they need to look for in the text. Yes, and obviously they need to be concentrated on well, the synonyms in the text. Yes, because the words that are in the stems, in the sentence starters, like here, yes, they won't be repeated direct or just similarly or just 100% in the text, so some synonyms would be used. Using clues before and after the gap. Again, it's in this task that we have the sentences that need to be completed at the end. There could be other tasks where the gaps, where the note completion happens in the middle of the sentence or at the beginning of the sentence. So it could be anywhere. It's just in this task that it all comes at the end of the sentence, but it could be different in the middle, at the beginning. So yeah, that is why students need to carefully look, yes, before and after this gap, and again, look for some grammar clues, yes, and just check that sentences are grammatically correct, because at the end, it needs to be a legible, nice, meaningful sentence with some notes that are missing, right, and with some notes that students find in the text. One other thing, though, that I suggest we could try, or students could try, yes, when doing this task, is this one. As just a strategy that is worth trying out, and that is worth trying out again, at least at the preparation stage, and for candidates to see if it works for them. Because again, as I have already mentioned, it's not that there is just one golden strategy that works for everybody, and if you step aside from it, yes, you're dead. No, things could be different for different individuals, for different students. That is why we need to, show them alternatives and let them choose what works best for them. So just an alternative approach to this task is this one. It could work with some students, turning prompts into questions. Yes, turning these sentences, turning these sentence stems into questions might be a good idea to try. And I suggest we try it out with you. Okay, now how this turning sentences into questions work, and if it works. All right. For instance, yes, we have this this sentence or this prompt. So it comes from this task we've just had a look at. It's number 45 here. Difference between amount spent on music by. Oh yeah, actually, sorry. I need to just say one more thing, that the text in section 7, this text is about illegal file sharing. Okay, so this is the topic of the text, illegal file sharing. And one of the prompts asks this: difference between amount spent on music by illegal and legal downloaders. So the students, the candidates, need to find this difference, right? And why not try and reformulate this prompt, this sentence, or the sentence stem into a question? And it would sound something like this: what is the difference between amount spent on music by illegal and legal downloaders? So when you try and turn it into a question, that might, shift a bit of focus, right, for you. Oh, okay, what is the difference, right? So I need to look for a certain difference that we have in the text. So what is the difference between? And that might be, a game changer for some students. It would let them reformulate. It would let them just focus on exactly the thing that they are asked to look for in the text. Let us try it out. I will show you the extract from this text that has the answer. Again, please read the extract and put the answer into the chat when you find it. All right, let's try it out. 40 seconds, please work. When you think you have found the answer, please put it in the chat. I see some answers start coming in. All right. Yeah, thank you for the answers. So far, I've got to think I've got only the correct options, I must say. No one has made a mistake yet. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, good. So let me share what the correct answer is. And this one is 33. So 33 pounds. And it's completely fine if you put it. Well, some of you wrote 33 pounds, some of you wrote 33, some of you just puts the symbol, which is fine. All of these is fine. Yes, so they spend an average of 77 pounds a year, 33 more than legal downloaders. So it's not, yes, this one is definitely, well, reading is not about, doing much calculation and stuff. You just need to find the answer in the text. And as simple as it might seem, there you go. So again, nothing to be made up. Nothing to be imagined. Yes, read the text, find it. 33 more than legal downloaders, and there you go. That's the answer, and that's what they put at the end, right? So they would like difference between. It would be this difference between and like 33 pounds. That's it. That would be the answer, for instance. Yeah, so what would be that? And that's it. All right. Good. So a few things to remember here, a few tips that we've already kind of announced. Yes, identifying the keywords and looking for them in or their synonyms in the text. Yes, so students are advised to read the prompts, the sentences, the sentence stems, whichever way you call them. Look for the keywords, yes, and then look for where in the text, well, they've got information about that, right? Using clues before and after the gap. The type of word, the information, what kind of information is missing, the part of speech. Checking for sentence to make sense. Yes, and just again looking for some grammar clues and just checking if the sentence is grammatically correct. And try turning note prompts into questions. Could be one of the strategies, one of the things that will help some candidates. You know, if they, for instance, sometimes it might happen that, you know, a candidate reads a sentence once and twice and still doesn't really get what this sentence asks them to find. So turning it into a question could be just, oh, okay, like an eye opener. All right, so that is why or what is the difference between these two. So that this is something that I need to look for. So 33 pounds more. So that's the difference. Yes, 33 pounds is the difference there. So these are some tips for students to do section 7 as best as they can. And again, a summary. So the number of questions here is 7. And accordingly, the score points is 7, and it's either correct or incorrect. Again, nothing to make up here. It's just they need to read the text, find the answer, and copy it into the task. Again, as easy as I say it. Obviously, things are not completely easy, and that's about the language and about anxiety and about stress, about a lot of things. So it's just the way I say it. But again, if the candidate is at the level, if the candidate fits the level, and if the candidate knows the strategies, then well, the statistics show that the majority of these candidates, they get their certificates and they get their positive results. So that's true. And well, an important thing here, a tip, yes, is to focus on both meaning and grammar here. Yeah, so they need to be grammatically correct, and they need to, well, answer, they need to just provide the information needed. Right. Okay, everyone. So all in all, these are all the sections of the reading test. Ми з вами сьогодні подивились на всі секції частини читання, так, 2 секції множинного вибору, коротші тексти і довгий текст, дати відповіді на питання, так, answer the questions або open questions, і gap fill або note completion, text completion, whichever way you call it. Так, ну що ж, нам залишається з Олею. Мені залишається, по-перше, запросити Олю на її фінальний, так, Олю, на її фінальну частину фінального вебінару нашої серії. Так, а ну зачекай, Олю, секунду. Чому не може долучитись? Ага, є, супер. Так, Оля ще долучається з важливою інформацією наприкінці. І у вас поки ще є час, якщо потрібно, зараз Олі, я знову надам право та тобі користуватись. Ось, і у вас ще є можливість, ще є кілька хвилин для того, щоб, можливо, написати свої питання. Ну і спочатку уважно послухати інформацію від Олі, тому що це також дуже важливо. Олю, прошу.
Так, сьогодні ми можемо розказати, як же саме підготуватися до іспиту Pearson. Тому підготували для вас серію матеріалів, саме які спрямовані на підготовку до іспиту. Не просто на вивчення рівня, а до іспиту. Це перша серія, це Focus Practice Test Plus, PTE Skills Boosters і Pearson Test of English General Practice Test Plus. Всі ці компоненти, вони включають практичні завдання до підготовки до міжнародного іспиту Pearson, тому ви можете використовувати будь-яких з цих ресурсів, він стане вам в нагоді. Також, звичайно, ми рекомендуємо використовувати і діджитал-супровід, тим паче, що він повністю безкоштовний. Це додаток Pearson English Warm-Up. Він доступний як на Android, так і на iOS. Ви можете зараз відсканувати QR-код або в Play Market, або Apple Store завантажити цей додаток. Дуже зручно, є також практичні завдання і на аудіювання, і на читання, і що важливо, що він безкоштовний і можна ним користуватися. На нашому сайті є розділ іспити. Тут ви можете знайти всю інформацію про міжнародні іспити, про дитячий іспит, також про онлайн-іспит. Цього року є можливість скласти іспит онлайн у себе вдома. Якщо, наприклад, у вас є учні, які навчаються за кордоном, і їм потрібен цей сертифікат для майбутнього вступу, то майте на увазі, що є така опція. Ви можете завжди звернутися до мене, я надам вам всю інформацію, є демо-версія на цей іспит, тому, будь ласка, пишіть, телефонуйте. Так.
Так, ще раз я шерив.
Ага. Ще рекламуємо наші соцмережі, Інстаграм, Фейсбук, будь ласка, підписуйтесь, тут ділимося корисною інформацією, розважальним контентом, всю актуальну інформацію також додаємо в наші соцмережі, якісь знижки, майбутні сесії, дедлайн реєстрації на іспит, адже це важливо, тому що зазвичай дедлайн реєстрації на іспит десь за 1,5 місяці до іспиту, і багато хто просто не встигає вчасно зареєструватися, тому рекомендую підписатися на наші соцмережі, щоб завжди бути в курсі всіх подій, які відбуваються з міжнародними іспитами в Україні. І, звичайно, що кожен учасник отримує сертифікат за участь у вебінарі. Відправимо їх, мабуть, на наступному тижні. Не буду казати, коли.
Так, ну сподіваємося, напевно, що ми з наступного тижня, багато з нас іде на такі зимові канікули, тому ну тут буде залежати, як наш маркетинг працює. Можливо, вони спробують і на цьому тижні все відправити, щоб вже всі хвости підібрати.
Так. І, звичайно, що мої контакти, номер телефону, Viber, Telegram, пошта, будь ласка, звертайтеся. Дивно, що хочу зробити такий анонс, хто там вже залишився. Ми також шукаємо центри підготовки. Тому, якщо ви бажаєте навчати ваших учнів, як підготуватися так, до іспиту Pearson, давати їм такі можливості, тому що ми розуміємо, що зараз англійська – це такий дуже вагомий пріоритет, на вступ потрібно, і взагалі ну, дуже важко уявити майбутнє України без англійської мови. Тому, будь ласка, також звертайтеся, я надам всю інформацію, якщо ви розглядаєте майбутню співпрацю з нами.
Так, питання від Марини Добровольської стосовно повторів вебінарів. Дивіться, вже повторів зараз ось таких наживо найближчим часом не буде, проте ми оберемо якісь, я так розумію, найкращі зразки з 2, які ми проводили, і викладемо записи цих вебінарів у доступ на нашому YouTube-каналі, напевне. І знову ж таки, я думаю, про це буде чи якийсь пост в наших соцмережах, чи що. Ну, якось ми обов'язково вас сповістимо. Я думаю, коли це станеться, і ті з вас, хто пропустили якийсь вебінар, зможуть подивитись його у записі і познайомитись з контентом тої чи іншої частини іспиту. Так, чи є ще якісь питання, шановні колеги? Поки ми чекаємо, якщо є ще якісь питання, буквально півхвилини, ми будемо вам дякувати. Дякуємо вам. Дякуємо, звичайно, і в першу чергу нашим хлопцям та дівчатам на передовій, які зараз дають нам таку можливість працювати, спілкуватись з вами, ділитись досвідом, дбати про майбутнє наших дітей, наших учнів, тому що, ну, напевне, їм ще, на жаль, довгий час відбудовувати нашу прекрасну країну, і нехай вони це роблять з такими особистими персональними здобутками, як підготовка до міжнародних мовних іспитів і отримання ось таких особистих перемог в своєму житті, так, на учнівському такому своєму поприщі. Так, тому бережіть себе, бережіть одне одного, з прийдешніми святами вас. Звичайно, святковий настрій, ну, наприклад, у мене особисто він дуже умовний, ось, але в мене є мале 4-річне дитятко, заради якого мені хочеться йому, як мінімум, влаштовувати свято, щоб він жив у більш-менш такому нормальному середовищі. Тому дбаємо одне про одного, створюємо хороший позитивний настрій, не дивлячись ні на що одне одному, а своїм піклуванням, своїм хорошим словом. Тому це зараз дуже важливо. Дуже важливо. Бачу, що питань більше немає, Олю, тому тобі заключне слово. Закінчуй нашу серію.
Хочу подякувати кожному, хто доєднався до наших всіх вебінарів, за вашу активну участь, за те, що виділили час, прийшли, подивилися, можливо, щось собі там запам'ятали, і можливо, в майбутньому ми навіть будемо з вами співпрацювати. Хотілося б дуже на це. Сподіваємось, так. Хочеться так, незважаючи на все, привітати вас зі святами, побажати нам всім здоров'я, миру хочеться як скоріше, і всього найкращого.
Дякуємо вам, друзі. Бережіть себе, перемоги нам. До нових зустрічей. До побачення.